Yay, great. Today, I think it's just like any other day from my standpoint. But usually I try to emphasize that kind of thing, but today really is a special day. I think it's the first time that the school has aged to the point where we have so many black belts testing. Josh says, oh, wonderful, you're going to be going for your brown. But to me, it's very meaningful when I look out here and see. If we add up the number of years, even, we're probably approaching a couple hundred years of experience. And how do you actually test that? We could easily test the mechanical things like playing an instrument, saying play this scale at this speed and this key, and you either do it or not. But that's not also that interesting if you're not saying something musically. Well, it's the same thing in here as far as I'm concerned. I'm looking at what has happened with this as a group. So, and like I've said, you've all heard me say at one test or another, or maybe many of them, that this is really a celebration. You've already earned your belt. It's not a question of let's see if you're worthy of the next stripe or brown belt. You've earned that. It's a bigger place than just a stripe on the belt or what your mechanical skills are. And that's sort of been the direction of our school always. I think it's probably kind of obvious. So I am very happy to see you guys here today and to do this, and let's have some fun. Let's have some fun doing it. Very good. Good job. Yay. I'd like to really hear your technique come through the yell. At the moment, I'm more interested in that than I am in the technique itself. And the technique is actually very good. The yell happens and you think, where did that come from? But it came out of this body, of the body that you're... so it's not you doing the yell, it's just... Fighting, your martial arts is no good if you're fighting a lot. If you're not fighting at all, your martial arts is perfect. So, meanwhile, you still learn to do this with the body.
This place with these people and is really, I would say now, after a few decades, I wouldn't have said this in the beginning, or even after the first 20 years, I wouldn't have said it. But now I say this is really my spiritual home, because Taekwondo is not Taekwondo in every school.
The message that we have here is different from school to school, but the message that we have here, I feel like by doing that is becomes even more focused.
And it's really everyone here and being with everyone here and the Taekwondo. That makes me really, really want to do this.
So the most important thing to me about this, sir, is that it's an invariant. So it's an invariant. It's something that is always here, and I can count on it. And no matter where I am or what I'm doing, it's sort of always around.
It's like using a knife or being sharpened. Like just using a knife alone feels so dull, and then here I feel like I'm sharpened by each and every person in this room.
And I like that it happens regularly, Tuesday, Saturday. I always know exactly where I'm going to be, what I'm going to be doing, and it is the same and also different every time.
Well, I've been thinking a lot about the years I've been in part of this studio, and it was almost exactly 3 years ago that I received my black belt, and 3 years prior to that I began studying Taekwondo with Grandmaster Zai and many of you who are here.
There was no trouble at all getting my white belt, because it was, nothing was expected of me. I didn't have to know anything.
And that 6 years has been perhaps the most influential course of study of my life. And I think it's interesting that in many programs you would have a PhD at that point and be considered an expert.
But since then, every belt that come along, like at mileposts, I've had one feeling that's consistent with all of them. That's like, I don't feel ready. I haven't felt ready for any of the belts.
And I, at this point, still feel like I've just barely even scratched the surface of what this has to offer.
I think what's been said many times already today is that even though you're testing for a new belt, you feel as though you're not much different than you were maybe last week when you were the belt that you have before you got it. And it's similar to the feeling of when it's your birthday. People ask you how you feel, and you feel like it's another day because you don't age like in 1 year chunks. You age per day, so you only feel a day older.
I feel that when I'm here, I don't need to be Jill Zai or Jill Pereira or Grandmaster Pereira for that matter. It's a place of freedom that I think we just cannot find easily anywhere else.
Talk about kind of what we left behind. And I wish I could say I was calm all the time and don't ever get upset anymore, but that's not true. But when that sense of being overwhelmed and inadequate steps into the room of my mind, I don't have to let it take over. I can't always slam the door. Sometimes it's just there, but it doesn't have to be filling the entire space and consuming all of my thoughts.
Learning about what your spirit is, and sometimes there's unnecessary scrabble in your mind, and just to know it's there is better than to let it go and do its thing.
You even notice, right? It's like the frog in the pot of hot water. You don't notice the shift that's happening, or what perhaps is building back up that you need to leave behind again. And so that, I guess that to me is, we're all here helping each other leave things behind.
I think in the last 3 years, it has been a lot more about, well, what parts, which of those connections did I not need? Which of those were not correct or imagined or unnecessary? So as far as what I personally have been working to pare away, I think it's like the recognition that my own thoughts and ideas are not all good ones, and that they don't all need to be remembered or shared or recorded, and that I can have a thought and say goodbye to it and never visit it again. And that's something that I know I'll continue to struggle with, but that this has really helped me with. And I thank all of you for being part of this journey.
For me, I think this is about learning to take care of yourself and therefore also each other. So it's for those of you who were here, a couple weeks ago, I told my 30 seconds of, take care of my friend, which is me, but it's also all of you. And like Miss Whitney was just saying, it reminds me of a poem by, I think it was Hafiz, that I shared with you before, that and I don't remember it exactly, but it's to the effect of God is easier to flesh out into the open with a hunting party. So whether you're religious or not doesn't matter. It's not the point. The point is that whatever we're fleshing out into the open here, or whatever we're leaving behind here, is perhaps more easily done as a group. And I think maybe we've all felt that.
I found that if I just kind of take it on faith or something, and keep practicing, that hopefully I'll grow into the belt. So that's all I have to say on that.
Thank you. I think you're expressing something that probably everybody feels. It's And usually, yeah, when you get the belt, maybe for everybody, on the day of getting the black belt, you think, well, this is just another day and I got the belt. But just like you're saying, you don't feel like one. And then over time, it starts to show. So I think that's...
So I am just exceedingly grateful for this life. And as it was stated before, I'll perpetually feel like a beginner. And that's where I am, a beginner. Thank you.